7.5 is about transpiration and how the transpiration pool is going to eventually take water from the roots through xylem vessels into the rest of the plant. The rest of the plant includes the stems as well as the leaves of the plant. Now, transpiration is a very specific process because the movement of water through the specific tissues of the leaf has to be properly understood because water can take different pathways, and according to the different pathways that are being taken, different factors are going to affect the rate of transpiration, but still the overall factors that affect transpiration will remain the same. Right, now let's go through this image that I have for you. Here we simply have a leaf. Don't try to think of the anatomy of the leaf too much. All I'm trying to show you is how we have the xylem and phloem vessels all the way in the middle, and that we call it the vascular bundle together. We talked about that in the previous spreads. And then we have the palisade mesophyll layers, spongy mesophyll layers, and the epidermal layers, along with openings in the epidermal layer, which are the stomata in the plural form. Now let's look at this cross section, almost transversal cross section of the leaf. Here we have the upper epidermis, here we have the lower epidermis, the palisade mesophyll layer, then the spongy mesophyll layer, and here's the most important part, the vascular bundle. The vascular bundle, do you remember, is composed of both xylem and phloem. What's the function of xylem? The conduction of water. What's the function of phloem? The translocation of sucrose. So in this particular context, what should we focus on? Should we focus on phloem or should we focus on xylem? We should most definitely focus on the xylem vessels. Definitely focus on the xylem vessels. And when it comes to the xylem vessels, you know xylem vessels work in a very specific way. They are lignified, cohesion and adhesion of water is going to bring things up. And this is the overall transpiration pull. Before that, let's consider this water molecule. That's a water molecule. Where does it originate from? It comes all the way from the soil. It comes all the way from soil. From soil, what's the next specific target of this? That's going to be the root hair. That's going to be the root hair cells. And then from the root hair cells onto the cortex and through xylem vessels from the bottom of the plant all the way to the leaf. That's the first part that you have to visualize first. The water molecule is going to come from soil through root hair cells into the xylem vessels from the bottom all the way to the top of the leaf right over here. Right here. And now this is here. So I'll just duplicate that. And this water molecule is currently sitting here. Now then, what's going to be the pathway of that water molecule for it to transpirate? What do I mean by transpirate? Transpirate is eventually this thing has to move through and through and through and through stoma and into the atmosphere. That's transpiration, the movement of water out of the leaf through stoma is transpiration. Is transpiration. Now, a key few pointers about this transpiration process that I want to give. Now, there's this negative pressure created by xylem vessels, or like created in the xylem vessels. And this is what helps water to move up to move up. Water to move up. Now, this negative pressure is created by the transpiration pull. created by the transpiration. Simply, this is the process that is happening. Water evaporates from the surfaces of mesophyll cells. Okay, hold on. What is that? Now, if I consider this water molecule, where's that water molecule? Okay, let's just make another one. CV, yeah, there you go. Now, when it comes to this is going to go through xylem, and now it's inside the leaf. No, it's simply going to go to the spongy mesophyll cells, to the palisade mesophyll cells, because why? We need water. For photosynthesis, water is a required substance. Therefore, this has to evaporate from and they go through all of these things and then evaporate onto these air spaces. Water evaporates from the surfaces of these mesophyll cells, palisade mesophyll and spongy mesophyll cells, into these air spaces. After water has evaporated into these air spaces, now pay very close attention to this specific words I'm using. Water has evaporated into the air spaces like this. Okay, what has evaporated? Water evaporates from the surfaces of mesophyll cells into air spaces. Oh, that's my water molecule. Into air spaces. And then it goes out. Now it's evaporated from the mesophyll cells and now it's in the air spaces. Now this has to move out through stoma like this. Move out through stoma like this. Move out through stoma like this. Okay, and therefore this is just plain old diffusion or diffuses and diffuses out via stoma. Diffuses out via stoma. That's the overall process of transpiration. That you have to clearly understand that first water has to evaporate from the surface of mesophyll cells and then only it would diffuse out. And the only reason why water is traveling this way like this is because of this negative pressure, this pressure gradient that is being created inside the xylem vessels, Now, if you observe the pathways of water, you see the blue ones simply represent water just diffusing out of the air space. That's fine. Do you see? Remember apoplastic and symplastic pathways that water can take to travel throughout the cells of the leaf? That is exactly what is happening. After it has come from the xylem vessels, water can travel through the apoplastic pathway, through the symplastic pathway to reach each and every cell that it requires to reach. Okay. And one small thing about water, let's take my water molecule down. Let's use that. Water is a polar molecule. Water is a polar molecule and water has H bonds or hydrogen bonds in more detail. What has hydrogen? These presence of hydrogen bonds and the polarity, the polar nature of water is always going to promote the transportation of water through xylem vessels. And this is actually by two main methods. We talked about them as well, cohesion and adhesion. So whenever you're talking about transpiration, you have to keep that in mind. Through xylem vessels, water can effectively move because of cohesion and adhesion. Cohesion and adhesion. Now this is actually put into a small theory like this: cohesion, tension, theory. This is how a continuous water column is possible. You know, when transpiration occurs, if the water column breaks, the rest of the water will fall down. Okay, because of cohesion and adhesion only, we have a constant flow of water all the way up through the vessel. What are the factors factors that are affecting transpiration. These are the same exact factors you have learned in IGCSE, is nothing new. First is temperature. So if temperature is high, rate of transpiration is high. Okay. The second one is going to be wind. If wind is high, rate of transpiration is also going to be high. Then let's talk about light intensity. If light intensity is high, rate of transpiration is also high. Humidity, this is the opposite. If we have a high humidity in air, rate of transpiration is going to be often low. The most important part that you have to understand from here is that water evaporates from the surface of mesosphere cells, and then after that evaporation process has been complete, it's the matter of diffusion that's taking the water out of the stoma and into the atmosphere